Welcome back to Kettlebells and Cocktails. I'm your host, John, back with my bestie, Nikki. Nikki, how are you?
I'm good. I miss you. We haven't
I
done
don't.
this in ages.
I feel like I haven't seen you in like 3 weeks.
So weird.
I think that might actually be the right amount of time too.
Is that true?
Maybe it's been a couple for sure. We
Yeah.
both got tied up with the Open in life and everything else going on. You're about to pop.
I am so very much about to pop. I am so pregnant. Oh my God. Ugh.
I know you've told me like 1,000 times, but what's the actual due date?
The actual due date is April 7th. I'm taking bets right now. I don't think I'll make it that far. My guess is April 1st, which I think would be really fun. Like a fun little April Fool's baby.
All right. Well, I have homework for you then. We're not going to
Okay.
disclose. We're not going to disclose who it is on the air because it's a very special guest. But we have a guest scheduled for April 2nd.
Oh, that's right. I'll move
And
my guest to April 3rd.
so I need you to either have the baby after the third or beyond, or I need you to give me the list of questions you want me to ask this mystery guest.
Got it.
Because it's the only way it's going to happen, one way or
I can
another.
do that. I can do that.
Right.
I am hoping to make it. So I'm 37 weeks right now. I am hoping to make it to 39 weeks because that's like technically full term, quote unquote. Like it would be fine if it happened like tomorrow too. But I would like to make it to 39 weeks, and then I wouldn't mind going a few days early just because I'm really fucking sick of being pregnant. Oh my
I'm sure.
God. But Matt
What are
thinks
you
I'm
doing
not
with
making it
Hunter?
out of the 20th. Like Matt thinks I'm going on like the March 27th or 28th or
Well,
whatever.
he could be right. I mean, second babies are quicker. What are you
Yeah.
doing with your current baby while you're having this one? Who's watching Hunter?
I'm like, what am I doing with him? I don't know. I was just going to toss him out the window.
Uh,
My mom will come down. My mom will come down from Boston and stay with him. But depending on how it happens, it's tricky, right? Like if my water breaks at like 2 a.m., then I'm gonna have to have like a friend come over and just chill for an hour in my house until my mom can get down here. So it's weird. Like, I don't know.
right.
Because I was induced the first time, I have no idea what it's like when you like spontaneously go into labor and you're
Yeah.
like, honey, it's time, get the bag. Like, quit. So it would be really convenient for me if it all went down at like 8 a.m. on a Monday and I could just send him to daycare and then go have a
I would.
baby. And,
That would be nice. These are the times I wish we lived closer because I'd
I
totally come watch him. He
know.
could hang out with Uncle John and we could
Oh my
chill and
God.
play guitar
Yes.
together. It'd be great.
And I would call you first. I'd be like,
That'd be
please come to
awesome.
my house at 2 a.m. Please.
You'd come over. He'd be playing guitar with me and playing video games, and we'd just be
Love it.
living large. It'd be
Love
super
it. That'd
fun.
be perfect. He would be living his best life. Those are his like two favorite things.
Have you picked a name yet?
No, and I'm still open to suggestions.
You're like, oh, well, I tell everyone John Woolley's a great name for a boy or a girl.
It's
So,
true.
you
The
know,
second, John Woolley the
yeah,
second.
yeah, why not?
What's your middle name?
I'm named after my dad, Roy, John
Oh,
Roy
that's
Woolley
great.
Jr. Yeah,
Roy's also a great name.
yeah, I'm a junior.
I have a short list of names. This is my thing. We have like a handful of names that we like, and Matt really wants to like see him and be like, "Oh, he feels like a this," which is fair. And we did that with Hunter too. Like I didn't like, you know, like embroider his name on sweaters until after he was born, basically.
Right.
So that's fine. But the weird thing with the second baby is I just feel like sometimes I look at that short list of names and I'm like, yeah, there are good ones on here. We'll see. We'll see what he looks like and we'll kind of figure it out from there. And sometimes I'm like, I fucking hate all of these names.
Well, look, I'll make suggestions. All I'm saying is, if you want to continue to work the CrossFit Games, that Donfall Brazier is not a terrible name.
Mm,
I just think you could go with that, or
it's a solid choice. Dave Castro Brazier.
Dave. Yeah, and then the first thing you do is block me. That would suck.
That
That'd
he
be no
would.
fun.
He'd be like, I'm following in my namesake's footsteps.
I know. That would totally suck.
I'm
Well,
totally open to suggestions though. Like anything is on the table if we hear something that sounds cool,
well,
like we're not against it.
hey,
Oh, I did hear this cool idea. Tell me what you think about this. So I have a girlfriend and she and her sister and her two daughters and her sister's kids, they all have the same middle name. And I thought that was really cute. It's like a way to like tie them together, to like bond them together. And I thought, well, maybe the boys should have the same middle name.
It's
That's
like
kind of
George
cute.
Foreman naming all of his kids George. I'm not sure I'd do that, but it's just me.
I don't know if it's the exact same thing because it's middle name.
Yeah, maybe. I don't
I
know.
don't know. I
Listen,
just
we
thought it
got
was a cute idea.
we're live tonight, and apparently there's 30 people watching currently, a whole
Oh,
30. So you
hey,
guys throw names into the comments. Nikki needs
please.
help.
I need
So
help.
let's throw them out there. I wanted to talk about the open. I was thinking about you the other day
Mm,
as I was doing some of these workouts and dying, as many of us were, but thinking how fortunate I am this year to be in the best health I've ever been in, ever. And how difficult it must be to have to do the open pregnant, because a
yeah.
lot of those movements were certainly not in the wheelhouses or even something you should be doing
Right.
when
Right.
you're pregnant. And so I wanted to spend some time talking about your experience, or just both of us sharing our experience. But I really wanted to hear about your experience doing some of these workouts and what it felt like, because I know you kind of go hard in the paint when you normally work out, and like you
Yeah.
like the RX and do the hard CrossFit stuff. And this year you were, I don't want to say incapacitated, but you're certainly
Unable.
limited. Yeah,
Yeah.
limited to say the
For
least.
sure. You know what was interesting at like where I'm at in this stage of pregnancy, like something for sure changed for me like 3-ish weeks ago, where the first workout of the open, the snatches and burpees, I I feel like I went kind of hard. Like I was able to push myself to a point where I was like
Right.
my heart rate was going, and I used a 35-pound dumbbell, and I was doing hang snatches, and I was doing burpees over the bar, but like off of a bench. And I was like pushing myself really hard. And then something happened the following weeks, including norovirus went through my house, which is the worst in
Right.
general, but then like way, way worse throwing up all night when you're pregnant. And now like just my intensity had to drop because of how I'm feeling, which is like crap. And
Yeah,
I've just reached daily levels of uncomfortable. It just is what it is. So the intensity on my second two
right.
weeks of the open was much different. But that just is, I think, where I'm at with being like in late stage pregnancy.
You don't think that was the baby going, "Mom, what the F are you doing, man?
I
Like,
don't I
why are we doing
mm,
burpees?"
maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe. But everybody, it just goes to show how different we all are because like, did you see the video of Annie doing full ass burpees, but she like set up mats and she like left a hole for her belly. Like she was still able to like get down and get up. And I was like, that's badass. When I get up like out of Hunter's bed at night, my hips are like, why?
Right. I did see that,
So
and my love for Annie goes
yeah.
deep, deep, deep forever. Like, I'll always love Annie. I saw that, and I had a moment where I like kind of turned my head sideways, like the dog does when it looked at you weird. And I'm like, what is she doing right now? Like, what
She's
is up
doing
with
full
these?
ass burpees. She
And
figured it out.
yeah. And then I'm like, all right, she's an elite athlete. She can get away with
Yeah.
this stuff. I
Yeah.
I I I read the comments, and there's so many people in there, you know, chirping about whether you should or shouldn't do that in
Oh, for
pregnant. I'm
God's
like
sake.
I'm like Annie's the beast of all beasts, man. Like, she's the
Yeah.
best. Like, let her do what she wants to do. And
Yeah,
and
and she feels
I
good.
love that she was
So,
doing that, like having the whatever, the little space for her belly. I thought
yeah,
was
it's perfect.
it was cute and funny, and also I'm watching it going, that's actually pretty clever,
Yeah, it was really
you
clever.
know?
It was like when we had Lauren Weeks on the show and she talked about how she ran the Vegas High Rocks literally 9 months pregnant and crushed it because their burpee standards were chest, like knees and chest on the
Right.
ground. And so she kept her hips up. And so she effectively was doing kind of like knee push up burpees. And that's how she was able to complete the whole thing. And she like made it work for her. And those women felt good while they were doing it. So like more power to them. But then my body was like, well, you don't feel good anymore. So we're going to have to ratchet down the intensity a little bit. And I was like,
Right.
fair, that's fine. I'm here for it. I'm listening. So like the last week of the open, I was doing like dumbbell thrusters and ring rows, and my dumbbells were like 25 pounds.
Did you actually sign up, or did you just do the workouts?
No, I actually signed up and I do every year and I will every year. And the last time I was pregnant and did the open, I was able to do it scaled because I was less pregnant, or maybe
Right.
foundations. I can't remember what it was. And I was able to put in my score this year because I'm like so pregnant. I had to modify even beyond some of the things that foundations allowed you to do. Like even for the second workout, the foundation stuff was funky. So I like skied instead of did double unders, for example. And so
Right.
I wasn't able to put my scores in. But I knew that going in and I don't care. I will sign up for the open every year that I'm doing CrossFit. I love everything about it. I love the camaraderie and the community, and I love being able to put my score in and just feeling like I'm a part of something greater, even if for whatever reason I can't get it in there this year. It's okay. I still did the thing.
Let me ask you. I'm looking at your scores, by the way. You
Oh,
got some.
how'd I
You
do?
got some. Well, you finished in the 5th percentile, so congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's actually my question though. So I'm looking back at your scores over the years, and you're fit. You know that, but
Thanks.
89th, 91st, 85th. Last year you were 83rd percentile. Like those are legit percentiles to be
Wow, I didn't
within.
even know that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's really, really solid. And my question is it hard having to take that step back to what what you're capable of? Like, in your full capacity when you're not pregnant and you're going at it, like you're mid 80s, low
Mhm.
90s percentile, and now you're like, all right, I can't do that because I've got this. I'm gonna call it an impairment and get yelled at.
Yeah,
But
that's fine.
you
No, I
you have
fully get
you
it.
have this impairment and you can't do it.
Yeah.
Is that hard for you? Was that hard
Yeah, it's
mentally?
wicked hard,
Is
but
it?
it's not hard to, like, see my open scores and placements. I don't really give a shit about that, but it is wicked hard just on a daily basis in the gym, and it's less difficult mid-pregnancy, is way harder postpartum,
Hmm,
in my opinion, just for me, and everybody's different
sure.
as Garrett noticed in the comments. Every woman is different and every pregnancy is different. I think mid-pregnancy, you have more of a quote unquote excuse, right? You're like, well, of course I feel like this. I'm literally growing a human. Like, I cannot be
Right.
bothered to do thrusters today. I'm forming an eyeball. I'm so sorry. But postpartum, when you're trying to figure out what your body is again and who you are again mentally, it is so hard because you know where you were and you know what you were
Right.
capable of. And I even said to Matt, like that open, the last one, the last open wad with the bar muscle ups and everything, I think in my prime, I would have had the top score at the gym. And that, like, when I don't have a particularly competitive gym, so, like, take that with a grain of salt, but I was like, I
Hey,
really think that would have been my shot, like, I those are good movements for me, I have some of the most proficient bar muscle ups in comparison to some of the other girls that I constantly am trying to, like, get with on the leaderboard, and so that will be cool for me to redo someday, but that someday could be 6 months out or 12 months out or 2 years out. I don't know what my body's gonna be doing after this birth, so that's the hard part for me, I think.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine that, that would be difficult for anyone to
Mhm.
try to figure out how long it's going to take you to recover from what's a traumatic experience on your body, and then,
Right.
to get back to doing what you love to do. So
Mhm.
it's what I'm always curious about when I look at people doing the open, and particularly women that are postpartum or in the middle of a pregnancy, having to deal
Yeah.
with trying to do what they can't achieve what they know they're capable of.
Mhm.
At that moment in time, they'll get back to
Right.
it eventually,
Yep.
and I just think how hard that must be for someone.
Yeah, it's rough, and I could do a whole, like, hour on, like, quote, unquote, like, bounce back culture and all the
Right.
expectations on women to try to, like, be the best moms in the world, but also, like, make sure you look like you've never had a kid, and, like, there's a lot, like, wrapped up in that, but for me, even more so than I mean, like, looks is a thing, like, visibly it is a thing, like, my body composition was what it was, and I want to get back there someday, like, whether or not that's "right," quote, unquote, or society's pushing me there, like, doesn't matter, that's, like, ingrained in my brain, so it's real. I'm just being real about it. But for
Well,
me, it's also very much a performance thing in the gym where, like, I'll never forget the first time after I had Hunter, we went and did a partner WOD, and I was cleared to work out. I would remember if I was like 6, 8, 10 weeks postpartum, and I picked up a 65-pound barbell, and it felt like a 200-pound barbell. And I was like, "Man, that's just my muscles
right.
not conditioned, and it sucks."
Yeah. What's the harder part for you? Not living up to your own expectations of what you're capable of, or not being able to beat those people you're competing with, even if they don't know you're competing with them? Because we all have those people.
Yeah, no, just the first one for me. Or it's like tiered. It'll be like the first one, like my own expectations of what I'm capable of, or like being frustrated with myself because you see a workout on the board and you see numbers and you're like, "Oh, I should be around here." And then you start to do it and you're like, "Oh, I'm nowhere around there." Like, you know what that feeling is like when you have that expectation for yourself.
Right.
That one is way more important to me and way harder for me. But if you talk to me in 2 years, if I'm still not where I'm at, or where I was rather, in comparison to some of the people that I like to chase on the leaderboard, then my priorities may shift. But for
Yeah,
a
my
while,
problem is
it'll just be me, me versus me.
it's always me versus me for now, but
Yeah?
I always, yeah, yeah. I'm always like that was my biggest takeaway from the open was actually how disappointed I was in myself in the first 2 workouts that I pride myself, like really pride myself on being able to break down workouts and be smart
Yeah.
and to, understand what time domain I should fall within, like how fast I should be able to do them. Man, I really overestimated my abilities in 24.1 and
Really?
2. Yes, I got my ass kicked, like, both times,
Huh.
like, just came out wildly too hot, and I learned my lesson by week 3, man. I had it figured out by week 3, but the first 2 weeks were rough, really
Okay.
rough,
Did you
you know?
redo them with those
Oh, yeah, yeah.
learnings? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I came out the first week, um so many learning lessons here. Like, so, one thing I did different looking back on it is I had planned to redo all the workouts. So I'm like, I want to get my best score possible. So I'm going to do them twice. I'm going to do one on Friday when it's, released on Thursday, but do one on Friday. And then I'll do it again on Sunday, which is kind of my normal training
Yeah.
day. Well, Fridays, I don't normally train at the time I was doing these workouts.
Okay,
So
that can change a lot.
Yeah, so I'm coming in at a different time of day. So that was the first thing I've have figured out that, you have to factor that in some, and I didn't really factor that in. And then I was the only one in the room. Like I was coming in late afternoon. I'd get my work done early at work, and I'd come in late afternoon when there were no classes, and so it'd just be me and a coach. And so I'm not like going up against anyone. I can't see anybody else
Oh.
pacing. I haven't seen anybody else do it at this point. And so I'm just kind of testing myself, and that was a mistake, like, looking back on it.
Mm.
It's particularly in week 1, and I was worried about things I shouldn't have worried about. Like, I was more worried about my strength in each week, and that was a non-issue for me, when the real
Mm.
issue was I need to do more damn burpees,
Oh.
like, I need to do more cardio, I need to do more double unders than I've been doing. Like, the things I thought I was good at, I've not been drilling as much as I thought I had been drilling. And I found myself
Okay.
in 24.1 about halfway through thinking, "Oh my god, I'm about to have a heart attack." Like, I looked at my watch and it's at 170 beats a minute, which is, 25 to 30 beats per minute faster than I ever work out.
Oh, that's so funny.
And
That's
and
when
I was
that's when I'm like, "I should cool it, I'm pregnant."
yeah, I was dying, man. I was dying. And, so yeah, so I learned that lesson pretty quick. And was really kind of disappointed in myself in both of those weeks that, man, I should have gotten a better score, but both times was able to come back and fix it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say I got lucky. Like I was able to fix it in one go. I didn't have to redo it twice, but man, it was not fun. But kudos to Dave. Like great programming,
Yeah,
you know,
agree.
you know,
Agreed. Or Boz. I think it was still Boz doing the programming.
was it? I don't know.
I
I
think
keep giving
so.
Dave, I give Dave credit for everything. Like, I don't know. I don't know who did
I'm
it.
sure it's a group effort back there. Everybody cares so much about making it a good test. Um, Speaking of, I do think it was a great test for all of those reasons that you just mentioned, the learnings and the ease at which people were able to underestimate
Right.
parts of each and every workout, I thought was just so classic CrossFit. But was there anything that you were surprised was there or wasn't there across the 3 weeks?
Well, surprise isn't the right word. I was, so I don't even know what the right word is for this. I was excited or happy that the open was very accessible.
Yeah, agreed.
So I thought week 1, traditional CrossFit couplet, very challenging, high rep scheme. The weight for a dumbbell was not light. So, a lot of people called it easy, but I'm like, come on, man, 50-pound dumbbell for that many reps, a lot of reps. Like,
Right. And also, like, if it's easy, just do it in 3 minutes. So
yeah,
also
exactly.
impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It was not easy. And then, week 2 was a triplet, which again was kind of a traditional workout, rowing, deadlifts, and double unders. If I would critique it, I would say those 2 weeks back to back, you know, and I say that with, no sense of irony. There was a lot of back movements, a lot of hinging, and so that
Spinal.
hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hurt, man. Like my low back was not happy. People were calling it the low back open, and that's what it felt like. It was just tough. But I thought it was like a really traditional workouts and it really accessible, but accessible to the point that you still have to practice skills. Like if you can't do double unders, you're
Mhm.
screwed. And if you don't
Right.
have them proficient, you're really screwed. Like in the first
Right.
time I did it, my double unders were not on point. And I came back the second time to do it, and I'm like, screw this. I went and found my old Nano 2s that I've done like 600 workouts in. And
Yeah.
I'm like, the shoes are not gonna be the problem. Like, I'm gonna make sure that I feel like I'm old
Smart.
school. And I got all my old apparel on. If I'd had knee socks, I would have put them on, swear to
You
God.
should have. Oh my
And
god.
and I killed the double unders the second time around because
All right.
like muscle memory kicks in at some point. But if you're not good at them, you were kind of screwed. And then I thought week 3 was what they've done almost every year in the open. It was Fran, but not Fran.
Mhm.
Pull-ups and thrusters, and then you throw in some high skill gymnastics. And I love bar muscle up, so it was good I got lucky and it was good for me. But I thought from that aspect, it was a really accessible open this year for people, and a really good test to decide, how do you stack up against the everyday athlete?
Yep.
Like there were so many people in my age group. Like I was getting messages from people all over the place that are in my age group that were competing with me that I didn't realize we were competing, but they were absolutely letting me know we were competing.
Yeah.
And, and I love that. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I absolutely love that. I think it's super fun.
Yeah.
Most of them were beating me, which I'm sure is why they were messaging, or they wouldn't have messaged at all. Um, but it was great, and I think that's the spirit of the open is you can go out and do
Yeah.
something. And like me and my buddy that I normally train with, I in week 1 I'd done it twice and had put up a good score, and I made the mistake of telling him my score, and he went out and beat it.
Mhm.
And then in week 2 he made the mistake of telling me his score, and I went out and beat it, and he didn't redo
Mm.
it. And then week 3 shows up and he can't do muscle ups, and now he's
Well.
pissed. Yeah, now he's
Uh-huh.
pissed because he didn't redo week 2, and he has no chance of beating me. And so now I'm the winner for the year. I got the bragging rights. Yeah.
Victorious.
And that's the beauty of the open. That's what makes it fun.
For sure.
So,
When you redid the workouts, did you do them around people or did you redo them solo as well?
no, I redid them around people both times. And I redid them on Sundays with my normal training partners at the time I normally train.
Good.
And I had coaches there to do the scoring, so that was
Yeah.
good. The only one I didn't redo was 23.4 or 24.3, sorry.
Got it.
Yeah, I didn't redo that one at all. Like I got exactly the score I thought I should get, that I
Cool.
deserved, and did not want to do it again, and literally shredded my hand, so I couldn't have redone it if I'd wanted to.
It's rough.
So,
That's rough.
yeah, it was
I
weird. It was very weird. I did my first muscle up. I've literally not done a muscle up since Wadapalooza 2 years
Okay.
ago. That'll tell you how
Oh.
long it's been. Yeah. Have not even thought about a bar muscle up in 2 years.
Huh.
And, so I did one in warm up, literally one. And I'm like, and I hit it first try. I'm like, all right, that's great. Let's go.
Okay.
So I get through the heavy thrusters. I do my first muscle up, and I hit that thing so high, Nikki, that not only was my hips were not even touching the bar, like I literally caught it almost at full extension,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but I was gripping the bar so tight, I felt both hands pop. You ever feel
Oh,
that pop
come on. Yes,
when
where like the skin separates, but underneath
yes.
you.
Oh, both hands in identical spots. I feel like I heard it. It was just like pop, pop. And I'm like, oh
Uh,
crap. And I came down and I like looked at my hands, and they're literally just gushing blood. And my coach looks at me and she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no. Of course not. Where's the chalk? And of course, I just, put chalk on to stem the bleeding and do 6 more and move on with my life. And it hurt so bad.
You just
But
like pack the chalk into your open wound.
yeah,
You're like, please stop.
that's exactly. I
Whoa.
had a huge clunk of chalk and I'm just like rubbing it into the bloody wound so I wouldn't
Gross.
bleed all over myself, and wrapped them up and was done. And the adrenaline pulls you through like you don't even feel
Yeah.
it. And then when
Yeah.
it's over, you go wash your hands, you scream like a
Oh my God. I
little kid.
sometimes avoid washing my hands for the next like day. It's so, or I'll like just wash the fingers around the palms of my hand. I'm like, I can't do it.
It
Oh
was so bad.
man.
There's like greasy marks all over this house where I was putting Rip Fix on my hands and like walking around touching things, and it's just like Vaseline and vitamin E
Coconut
oil.
oil and shit.
Yeah, it's just gross. It's so gross.
Oh man. Well, hey, listen, you were serious about that muscle up. You were like, this is happening. I'm fatigued, but this is happening.
Look, my thought was you get through the muscle ups, you get 7 muscle ups and end of the thrusters. That's where the points are in my
Yeah, for
age division.
sure. For sure.
Like I'm in the 50 age division. Like there's a lot of dudes over 50 that can't or shouldn't be doing muscle ups. And so I'm like, as long as you finish them, you're going to score well. And I was
Yeah.
right. You
Yeah,
know,
for sure. I was a little bit not surprised, but just given like the patterns of the opens that we've seen before, I was sort of expecting to see something heavy, some sort of heavy barbell or a progression to a heavy barbell open-ended. And I was also maybe expecting to see some kind of manipulation on the time. If you do X number of movements, you get to
right,
unlock more time or something along those lines. But then I thought to myself, like with the structure of the open being different this year and the larger number of people being admitted to quarterfinals, that does give CrossFit the opportunity to make the first 3 workouts more accessible
right,
and to open up a little bit more skill work or heavier bars or whatever it may be to continue like rounding out the test of fitness for the next step. So at first I was like, "Oh, really? Like no heavy barbell, no shit." But then I was like, "Oh, well, okay. We have 25% of these people going to the next
right.
round. Like we have plenty of opportunity to continue testing all the things or all the variables in terms of movements and weights and time." So I'm excited to see. I'm really excited to see what happens in quarterfinals this year, especially because so many more people are going. And personally, like selfishly, many more people who I know are going to do quarterfinals. And I want to see how they do. I'm stoked.
Y- You know who's not doing quarterfinals? This guy.
Why
Absolutely
not?
not.
Why not?
No, no. I have no business. I proved everything to myself I wanted to prove.
You're not
And I,
curious?
no, not even a little. Not even a little. I was grateful to not have the heavy barbell. I was grateful to not have to do pistols. Grateful to not have to stand there and stare at everybody else doing handstand walks. Like, and all that stuff's coming up in quarterfinals. I want
Yeah.
nothing to do with that.
All
Nothing to do
right.
with it.
Well, maybe just wait and see what the first workout is and
Nope.
then decide.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Well,
Nope.
I would have loved to watch you do quarterfinals.
Well, maybe some other year. We'll see. I this year my goal was to get to the 90th percentile. I've never done that before, or had never done
Okay.
that before until this year. Um, I felt like last year was the year I should get there, and I got sick. And so I've spent the last
Right.
year like frustrated that I was last year. I felt like it was the fittest I've ever been. And I felt like then I'm fitter than I am now. And I was like, all right, this is year I'm getting in. And then I got sick and I couldn't breathe properly, and I'm like, there's no way I'm
Yeah.
going to make it through 3 weeks of intense redlining workouts. And so I dropped out and didn't do it. And I've had to live with that for the full year. And so this year I'm like, all right, I'd like to get to the 90th percentile. And so I'm going to redo all the workouts. If I don't get there, that's fine, but I'm going to give myself the best shot to do it. And I made it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's good enough. I don't need quarterfinals to prove anything else. Like that was kind of
Okay.
my goal. And,
Yeah.
maybe in years future, I'll consider something else. But for now, that was good.
Goal achieved.
Goal achieved.
Yeah. Okay. I think
91st,
that's great.
91st percentile. I want the full credit. 91st.
You broke that glass ceiling for yourself. Good for you.
I tell you what else I was really proud about. I hope there's no way he's going to listen to this, but I hope he does. So, 3 years ago when I did the open fully scaled, and I finished second in the world, the entire world in the scale
Ah,
division. The guy that beat me, we stay in touch. We still message,
Oh, how fun. Okay.
and he's super fit, man, like really fit. And I've literally never beat him into a workout until 24.3. And I finally beat him on one.
Oh,
Finally, that's my greatest bragging rights ever, was that I got more muscle ups than him. So I was
good
very
for
proud.
you. Is he doing RX now?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. No, we both scaled that year to see what it would feel like, but he's an RX. He and I are very similar athletes. He's fitter than me, like a lot fitter than me.
I understand.
Um, and he's more suited to CrossFit because he's short. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I keep making
That's
fun of him
like
for that.
that's like Matt scored in the whatever 90th or whatever percentile and because he had to do foundations this year because he's still recovering from having his
Oh, that's
appendix out.
right. That's right.
um but it was a great and humbling experience for him too. And so he did sort of like what I did where he was able to do more of just the regular foundations, but I think that in the last week he did the thing that we basically tell everyone in the gym not to do, where we're like, if you signed up for a skilled or foundations open, now is not the time to like be like, oh, but I can do this weight, or like, oh, but I can do
Right.
muscle ups or whatever. But he basically did that just because he needed to like get a good workout in for himself, and it wasn't about the score for him. But it
No,
was
that's good.
funny when he like put his scores in and he was like, "Ooh, look, I'm in the top 100 in foundations." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're doing a good job."
I love how everyone finds something in the open to motivate themselves. Like even that, I think is like a really cool thing. And I think that's why the open's important for people to do. Give yourself scores to look at in future years. I think it's important. And when you're on your fourth or fifth baby, you can look back on these
Yeah,
scores and say, hey, let's see how we're doing.
100%. Yeah. And I get to redo them later. Be like, "Oh, look, I did
True.
this when I was pregnant and like here's what it was like later on when I was postpartum and able to like do the movements again." And that's kind of cool too in and of itself. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was
No, it's
fun.
good. Any did you follow how the athletes did? Like the main athletes? Have you followed any of the sport of it at all? I've barely
Yeah.
followed.
Yeah, a little bit.
Any
Whatever the
surprises?
massive
Any
major headlines were.
any surprises
Well,
to you in the kind of winners and the people that finished at the top?
some names that we haven't talked about a lot, like some names that were a little bit less recognized in terms of the winners, which was pretty cool. It's always great to see like athletes who are I don't know if I would necessarily call them up and coming because they've been around for a while, but they haven't necessarily been maybe household names doing really well on the leaderboard. That's always cool. A lot of international athletes that I'm less familiar with in their entire careers. So it's always cool to see them uh, climbing up the ranks too. Like we'll know their names and remember their names and pronounce their names wrong together soon
Right.
enough. And I was really bummed to see like Tia have to drop out of the 24.3 announcement, but this is funny. Hang on, let me squish a bug right here. This is the most me thing that's ever happened on a podcast, right? It's
Do you
really
remember the
little. That's why
episode?
I'm not with the spider.
Yeah, with the spider, you had to call Matt. He had to come in and
Yeah.
kill it mid
I was
episode. That was
literally
the
about to
best.
be like, this is the tiniest bug I've ever seen, which is why I killed it myself
Right.
and I didn't have to call Matt.
Love it.
Do you remember there was also an episode we did recently where there was like a bug, but it was like right here, and I spent the whole episode like this. I was like, oh no. Um, but anyway, this was funny. Like, so everyone's talking about Tia and her wrist injury, right? And how you can tell who's been a mom and had a kid and who hasn't,
Right.
because we have all had that fucking wrist injury. And I wore a brace for like, I don't even know, 6-7 months after Hunter was big enough where like when you just pick them up like this or you just hold them like this on one hip and like you just totally fuck up your wrist and it's like we call it mom wrist. And I had
Right.
to go to PT for it. And it sounds so dumb, but it's excruciating. It's like when you tear your hands and you're like,
Yeah.
this is actually the worst pain ever, but it sounds so small and minimal. And so it's just funny hearing people like evaluating, like, oh no, she has this wrist injury. And what does it mean? And when and how can she recover? And how did she get it? And I'm like, woof, all the moms out here raising their hands, being
Right.
like, we know exactly what it is. It's really shitty. It impacts everything that you do and it will go away. But man, That
Well,
was
there was
yeah.
all the chatter that it was the fault of her frog grips, and, I was kinda the same way, like, as a dad, like, I remember those times when our kids were little, and it's
Yep.
like, "No, no, no, it's not the grips, it's carrying that baby around," like,
Mom
no doubt
wrist.
in my mind.
It
Yeah,
just
yeah,
is mom wrist. It is what it is, and everyone's got one that's worse than the other. I had one that was worse because of how I had to sit and nurse for a while. Like, the hunter just went through a phase when he was little, where he would just, like, only latch if I was, like, Quasimodoing over
right.
him, and it was, like, the worst, most uncomfortable position, and that also messed up my wrist. It was just it's a whirlwind, man,
Well,
those
here's what I
times.
was excited. I'm, like, looking over the leaderboard. A few things I was
Yeah.
excited about, Annika Greer, 3rd. We love Annika.
Rushed. She's been doing
Uh,
great.
I love Annika. She is literally the sweetest.
She's
I was
wonderful,
thinking.
wonderful human.
I messaged her on something the other day, and I forget, she posted something about her age, and I'm like, "Holy shit, she's, like, right in between the age of my 2 girls." It's probably why I like her so much, because she's, like, the same age as my daughters, you know?
Yeah.
She's just, like, such a sweet soul, but I was really excited to
And
see her finish 3rd.
so real. Like, I
Yeah,
love how real and down to earth she is and how open she is about, like, the reality of being an elite athlete and what that does to you mentally and physically, and how difficult it can be to, like, chase that career and move or change coaches, camps. Like, she's great about all that
yeah,
stuff.
and then, Ariel Lowen, 4th, like, right
Amazing.
there in the top 5 again, and she was amazing at the, 24.3 open announcement, like, really
Mhm.
killed that.
Mhm.
Really killed that. So she was fun to watch. And then on the men's side, I'm just kind of eyeballing the leaderboard a little bit here, but my boy Saxon finished 2nd, which I
Good
was
for
really excited.
him.
And Koski first European champion of the Open
He's so
on the men's
consistent
side.
year over year over year. He really comes out and proves himself in so many different capacities. And I don't mean consistently like winning things. Like, I don't mean consistently winning the Open. I just mean like he's just always in the mix. No one really talks about him.
And then Jay Crouch finishing 3rd. So I love Jay Crouch. So I've known Jay since 2018, like right after the page started. One of the very first memes I did. It was one of the memes that put me like kind of in the conversation. Um, he was on a team with Rob Forte,
Okay.
and they took a photo where Rob was standing in front. I think it was Rob was in front and Jay was in back, and he had his hands on Rob's chest, and it looked like that photo that Janet Jackson took for the Rolling Stone cover years
Yep.
ago, where they've got her hands over her boobs, And so I put them side by side, and I made a meme of it. And I became kind of online friends with Jay and Rob. And at some
Fun.
point, Jay and Rob were in a bar in Australia drinking heavily because that's what
Weird.
Australians do. Yeah, it's what Australians do. And it's like 7 a.m. for me. So it's 7 p.m. for them. And I get a video message and they video call me and they're plastered, like just drinking their asses. I'm like, "Hey, John, what's going on?" And I know it's a terrible Australian accent, but that's the best I can do. Best I can do. And, and I'm just like blown away that I'm like making contacts, half a world away.
Oh
And
my
so I've
god,
known
that's
Jay for a
hilarious.
long time. And then I ran into him at the games, maybe in 2019, I guess, a year later. And again, this was kind of before he's on the map, but I ran into him at a bar and of all places, and I was drunk and he was drunk. And we took a video together and it was pretty obscene now that I think back on it. And I've watched his career like continue to grow, and he just
Yeah.
gets fitter and fitter and fitter. And again, he killed that 24.3 announce. Like when he came out, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is Romans to win." I'm like, "No, it didn't. Like this is tailor made for him. It's not super heavyweight, and he's great gymnast, and he'll kill it." And he did. He crushed it.
Huh.
Uh,
That's great. How
yeah.
fun.
So I love him. I just absolutely love him as a person. He's like so kind and funny, and it's great to see him do well. So see him finish 3rd really excited me. It was good stuff.
Very cool.
So, yeah, and then Noah 5th. I thought Noah was retired. What the hell?
He's gonna go team this year.
I know, but man, he's like the Energizer Bunny. He just
For real.
keeps showing up.
Yeah.
Pretty
I love
unreal.
to see that because it very much, like, encourages the community element of just sign up for the open. Like, just do the
Yeah.
open. Just do it with your gym, just do it with your people. Crush it if you're Noah. Who cares? Who cares if you're not gonna go individual, you know?
I haven't been following the sport that close, to be honest, but I like the little that I have been following. I love seeing a lot of these familiar faces just continue. Like,
Yeah.
and that, I guess for me, that's like the power of CrossFit. Like, you would,
Uh-huh.
any other sport, the 21 to 22-year-olds would be destroying the 31 to 32-year-olds.
Mhm.
And these guys just keep showing up and just keep performing, man. It's unreal.
Yeah. Yeah, and they keep learning too. I saw Pat Vellner put up a post about how he just, like, went out way too hard for
Right. I saw that.
24.3. Right, it reminded me of your learnings too, from this open, and he was just so real and honest about how he, like, fucked up, and he's been doing this forever, and, he corrected his mistakes and he learned from them, and it's like these guys are not only continuing to get fitter despite age and despite the difficulties of life as you continue to get older
Right.
and having kids and all that stuff, but they're also continuing to learn, and it's so impressive. To your point, it's like a testament to this methodology as, like, a true longevity factor, you know?
I think Pat's learnings and my learnings were wildly different, but I understand what you're saying.
You get where I'm coming from.
I understand what you're saying, like wildly different. I saw his video and watched him, and I thought that at the time, like it's interesting to me to see these elite athletes learning things as they're going. But I'm like, he's learning. He's still doing muscle ups and sets of fours and fives.
Right.
He's not doing singles like me and sitting there crying about his bloody hands. So
His quote unquote slow or meltdown or whatever is very different from the rest of ours, but still, he knows himself and his body, so that
yeah,
counts. I count
it's
it.
it's pretty interesting. So
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
I do
Why?
too, but I'm also glad that it's only 3 weeks, and I'm also glad that it's over, as I'm sure every gym owner is sighing a big sigh of relief at this point, being like, "Okay, back to
I'll
our
get
regularly scheduled programming."
Well, maybe, but I'll give CrossFit a huge thumbs up for this. One thing I thought they did really well this year, I thought the workouts were accessible, but I thought what was more important is they were super easy to execute as an affiliate owner.
For sure.
Like really easy. You didn't have to tape anything off. You didn't have to have special lanes. Like, you only had slight things you had to do, like stand under the rig before you had to be 5 feet away from your barbell or whatever in
Mhm.
24.3, or you had to be, you know, uh, back to the dumbbell or whatever in the first one. Just a couple little things, but nothing that was hard for an affiliate owner to execute on. And you didn't need like crazy amounts of space. And I just think back to last year when we're doing shuttle runs and you got
Mhm.
to tape off 25 feet and, such a pain for the athletes to do that
Yeah.
and a pain for the affiliate owners. And this was just so much easier for us,
Yeah,
So
I think all that stuff is coming in quarterfinals, but I think that's also one of the pros to opening up quarterfinals to that 25% now, is that, like, as an affiliate owner, you didn't have to do it for 80% of your gym, and now you'll have to do it for
right.
only 20%. So if you are gonna organize some other, like, Saturday mornings or Friday night lights or whatever just to watch the people doing quarterfinals, at least it's fewer heats, hopefully, for you to run.
Well, I just think of the health of the business, the way they set this up. If they continue to do this year over year, where they make the workouts really accessible and easy, it'll be easier for affiliate owners or just anyone to grab your buddies and say, here's what it's going to look like. Come do this with me
Yeah.
and get
Yeah.
more people involved in CrossFit, more people signed up. You can get more new members that are like, hey, that looks scary. I'm not sure I want to do it. Like it'd be easier to talk people into signing up and understanding the value of it. And, it'll be good for the athletes and even better for, CrossFit to be able to earn that money the right way to reinvest back into the business to use for the
Right.
game or for, other things. So
Yeah.
hopefully they continue down that path. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. What did your gym, like, host a thing? Like, we did Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, everybody
I
does
don't
Friday Night Lights. Yeah, we
Well,
had some stuff.
we've experimented with Saturday mornings too as, like, the big time. or Saturday, because depending on how long the workout is, it could be like the first half of the day on Saturday. But this year we just did Fridays.
Yeah, I think every gym does. I mean, I shouldn't say every. We do Friday night lights, and then you still have people wanting to do it on Saturdays, and then we have people coming back in on Sundays to do it.
For sure. Yeah, of
And we
course.
we kind of always have a coach available to do that. It's not real hard
Yeah.
to have people around to do that scoring. But most of the people do it on Fridays,
Yeah.
and this year it was super easy, and
Yeah.
fun. So
Yeah.
I liked
We
it.
ran a kids heat, which was really, really fun because we have a bunch of like young athletes who are like 10-ish, a couple years older, a couple years younger. And then the last week, we let like all the kids go with them, including like Hunter, like a couple like little toddlers. I have to send you this video, remind me after we're done recording, of Hunter doing thrusters with the empty bar. And then they were going to do thrusters and push-ups, and they only had to do push-ups, but Hunter decided to RX plus it and was just instinctively doing burpees over his PVC pipe. And it was adorable. And I
I
was
love
so
it.
proud of him. I was so proud of him because he sat and he listened to the lesson with all the other kids. And then he like took his PVC pipe and spread out and like did the thing. And I have never, ever, ever taught him how to do CrossFit. I've never been like, watch mommy squat. This is how you squat. Okay, let's go. This is how you do a burpee. Like you go down and you go up. Like never have I even said a single word to him. And kids are just always watching and they're
Right.
sponges. And he just came out and just did it on his own. And I was like, okay,
I think that's
CrossFit
probably
Games 2037 or whatever year.
Well, I think that's one of the unintended consequences that will come to this because I saw that from a few kids. Like Jen's son, I want to say he's 10 or 12. He's young. And, he's doing dumbbell snatches and burpees. And then the
Huh?
next week he's doing rowing and jump rope and deadlifts. And those are all accessible movements, even for kids under the watchful eye of a coach. Obviously, his mom was there coaching him. But they see everybody else having fun and they want to have fun, and all of a sudden they're
Yeah.
like, this fitness thing looks not bad. And now you've
Uh-huh.
got an entire generation of new CrossFitters coming up that you didn't realize wanted to do it.
It's
It's
so cool
exciting.
to see. It's so cool to see. And just to get them valuing movement from a young age for whatever if it's just fun or if it's just because mom and dad do it or for whatever reason, like it's cool to see. And like when we go to the gym, we let Hunter watch the iPad, and he doesn't watch a ton of TV. So when it's on, he's like glued to it because he's like, ooh,
Yeah.
this is like a special treat. But lately, he'll only really be interested in watching for like half the class. And then he's been asking me like, "When are you done? Like, I want to come out and do some stuff." And so he'll like sometimes like as we're putting his whole like setup away, he'll like stretch with the next class, or he'll run around and swing on the rings, or he'll want someone to lift him up so he can hold on to the pull-up bar. He'll pick his toes up and do like toes to bar, and then he'll let go and he'll be like, just like my dada, and my heart just bursts.
Well, look, not everyone's kids are going. My kids don't do that, so not all.
And he
No,
might not forever. He might not forever, but it's very cute because he's only 2.
yeah. Well,
Oh no. I think the internet cut out for John. I wasn't sure if it was me or if it was John. And that's why I didn't say anything because I was like, oh man, I don't want to break it. But now I think it might have been John. Hang on, let's see. Let's see. He's like the master of all of this. And so now that I'm alone in our like podcasting system, I don't know what to do. I just texted him. Let's see. Maybe if he comes back in, I can let him in. I think we lost John. Okay, he went. You guys in the chat are saving me. He went by, but I'm still good. Well, okay. I'll just do this solo, I guess. No, he'll be back in a moment, I'm sure. Well, let me peek in on some of the comments here in the chat. Um Okay, look, here's a comment from Linda that I can answer alone without John because it's about my pregnancy. Everything else will wait for him for. But I know this is unrelated to the oven. Would love to hear more about how or if your pregnancies have differed. Linda, fucking completely different one to another. Completely different. Hey, I was just going to answer a pregnancy question because you weren't here. And I was like, that's at least one thing I can talk about without John.
I don't know what all it said was it said the internet connection was not stable, and I'm like, yeah, me too. Okay.
Same internet, same.
Same. We're both not stable. Sorry about that.
No worries. Do you want to hear about how my pregnancies have been different? Because they are like completely different. Not even
I was
close to the
actually
same shit.
when the internet went down, I thought to myself, I wonder how Niki's pregnancies are different. And here we are.
Well, I'll give you just the top line where like I was never ever sick with Hunter ever. And I spent the entire first trimester sick with this mystery name baby. So that sucked. And because of that, everyone had said, well, it's got to be a girl. Like it's got to be something is different. Like something about the chemistry of this baby is different. And then it turns out it's not. It's another boy. It's just that every pregnancy is different. So I was super sick. So early stage was really different. And then I think late stage is also really different where I don't know, like I don't remember. I might have just blocked it out mentally, but like I don't remember getting toward the end of my pregnancy with Hunter and really slowing down, like really feeling uncomfortable and just like really really done with being pregnant. Like I remember getting toward the end and being like, okay, like I still feel pretty good. I mean, at this point in my pregnancy with Hunter, we were like boarding a plane to go to games for me to work. And I was feeling great. I was like not worried about it. I wasn't like, oh my God, how am I going to be on my feet all day? Meanwhile, this time I'm like, oh my God, I can't even like I'm useless in the afternoon with my toddler. Like I must lay on the couch and just watch TV for the rest of the night. Like I have to. So I think part of that is like you tend to get bigger faster with your subsequent pregnancies. So I think part of continuing in this time around feeling really uncomfortable and like feeling just sort of done with being pregnant and feeling a lot more of the symptoms that suck have to do with the fact that like I'm just like bigger and like heavier and it's more pressure on my body and more pressure on my joints and like all that crappy stuff. And then just like the like like shitty little things. Like I have like insane heartburn this time around. I didn't have that the first time. Or like I am like quite literally sitting here having contractions and it's just been like that for the last like 2 weeks. Like it just sucks. Everything about late stage pregnancy is a little bit rough. But the good news is with Hunter at this stage, they because of my at my last growth scan, they were worried that he was looking small. And when that's the case, they are concerned about oh, hello. Hello,
I'm
sir.
back. Can you hear me?
You're back. Yeah. Internet connection still unstable.
Still unstable like the rest of my life. So here I am.
I feel you. I feel you. I was just saying that with Hunter at this stage, when I went for my last growth scan, he was looking like he was measuring small. And so they get worried at the end of a pregnancy that sometimes the placenta can kind of like give out early and stop delivering all the nutrients that it needs to for the baby to finish growing really strong. They call it a intrauterine growth restriction, IUGR. So at this point with Hunter at like 37-ish weeks, they were worried he was looking small. And so they sent me for like daily checks and non-stress tests and all sorts of bullshit. And when I came back from games, they gave me another growth scan and they were like, yeah, he's still small, so we should induce you. And then my induction was like terribly mismanaged and really traumatic and terrible. And so I was like, this time around, I was like, please, please, please. I just really hope that doesn't happen again. And so the good news is I had another growth scan yesterday, and that's not going to be an issue. Yay.
That's good. That's good, right?
Yeah, it's great. So we won't, at this point at least, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks, but at this point, there's no need to talk about scheduling an induction. And we kind of just get to let my body do what it's going to do, which I'm really excited about because I have no idea what it's like to just go into labor. And I'm very curious. I just want to know, like, what's going to happen? When's it going to happen? Like, it's like a surprise party. When is it going to happen?
Worst
the
surprise party
most
ever.
Painful surprise party ever. Yeah, that's right.
Worst surprise party ever.
But I am curious because I also I have no idea what it's like, what it even feels like to have like contractions every 20 minutes and then every 10 minutes and then they ramp up and then whatever. Like, I don't know any of that shit because I was just on meds and,
I'm assuming
my body do it.
Matt's going to be in the room with you.
I hope so.
Well,
where else would he be?
I don't know. Some husbands won't be in there. I'm just asking if he's going to be in the room.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was just the two of us last time and it'll be that again. And actually with Hunter, it was like peak COVID. So the hospitals had, no visitor policies and all that stuff. And we were like, we're just going to keep that. We're just going to do that because it was great. And I learned so much from that experience, from like it just being the two of us for 2 days in the hospital and coming home and even like not having visitors for the first few days while we figured our shit out. And also that was like COVID related too, just to be safe. But I learned so much about how like I went totally insane with postpartum anxiety and like needed a break from people and didn't want people at my house right away, that I apologized to every friend and every family member, where like years ago they would have kids and I would show up at the fucking hospital. I was in my best friend's hospital room with her baby like 4 hours after she gave birth. And I cannot tell you how many times I've apologized to her since then, being like, I'm so sorry. But like, we didn't know better. The world didn't know better. It was kind of like expected.
Hey,
I got to her house before she did.
This experience might be different for you. You never know. Like just because it was so bad the first time doesn't mean it will be the second time.
No, you're totally right. But I like that we sort of like established that benchmark where we were like, it's just going to be us. We'll let you know when we're accepting visitors. And people seem like really open to that now, given what the world has been through over the last couple of years. Whereas before, she like texted me and she was like, the baby's here. And I was like, great, I'm driving to the hospital. Like, oh my God, what was I thinking?
Well, we'll see how it goes. I bet it goes great for you. I'm guessing this one's going to be wildly better than the last one. That's my guess.
I hope so. I just don't. I'm so curious. I don't know anything about how it goes.
I just need you to hold on until our next guest is done. That's all I need. This is all about me at this point.
That's fine. I will write out questions for you in case it doesn't happen. But I am literally, I know you were booted from our program. I am like literally sitting here having contractions as we speak.
Are you?
So, yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, and it's been like that for like a week. I mean, I guess it can be like that for like the whole last month, but it's not comfortable.
There's no way I'm doing this interview. I'm with you. I'm guarantee I'm doing it by myself. I need questions tomorrow. You need to send me questions tomorrow.
I'll write them down tomorrow. Yeah, it's not fun. This feeling.
It'd be different if this was an interview of someone I knew, but I don't know this guy. Like I don't know him at all. and you're my resident expert. So I need somebody who can really do the interview. So you're not allowed to have the baby yet. And if you do have the baby, you're going to have to do it from the hospital room.
I will
It's gonna
just
be great.
cross my legs for a while, for like 2 weeks.
It'll be great. Doctor's going to be like, the baby's on its way. You're like, not now, doc. I have an interview on the 2nd. So push him back
Very
in.
busy. I'm very busy. Just shove him back in.
Very
Stay.
busy. This show that makes me no money, I'm dedicated to. I'm totally dedicated to.
Oh
What you
my
need to do.
God.
Totally
I
what
am
you need to do.
dedicated.
Wow. Is Matt squeamish at all? Is he going to be okay in there or no?
Oh my God. Yeah. He's a medical professional. So he like does this stuff, not
Does
this
it?
stuff, but he's not at all weirded out by
Yeah.
anything.
I mean, come on. He's a pharmacist, Nikki. Like being a pharmacist and watching a baby shoot out of your vagina are two wildly different things. That's why I'm
Okay,
asking.
you're
Like,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But he has done like he's done a lot of hospital pharmacy and
that's fair.
yeah, and he's also like he works in doctors' offices now and he does like he like immunizes patients and like works with needles and stuff. So he's not weirded out by any of that stuff at
Okay.
all.
Well, it's just
Um
still wild. You know, people handle it different. Like I was fine with it, and you know,
you're
I'm not a
right.
medical professional. You know, I watched the whole thing go down. It was awesome. You know, in a
Yeah.
crazy kind of way. You know.
Yeah, and to your point, some people are weird too because that's your wife or baby mama or whatever. So like even if you're not squeamish, maybe you're squeamish because it's like someone you know and care about going through
Yeah.
it. But no, he didn't seem to care. I think he's just like fascinated by the science of it. Whereas they offered me a hand mirror and I was like, fuck no. Are
You're like,
you
no, I don't want to see
serious?
it.
Absolutely not. There's no way. I was just like, I don't want to be that close to my body ever. I'm all set.
Dude, I have a really shitty memory. I've said this forever. Like I could barely tell you what I had for lunch today, but I can tell you the color of the room I was in when my girls were born. And I
No
remember
way.
every moment of that birth, every
So
bit of
cool.
it. The the yelling, the pain, the grossness of it, the beautiful parts of it. Like I remember all like vividly in my mind to this day. You never forget it as a parent. You just never forget it. So you're lucky you didn't pull out the hand mirror because I'm telling you, from the guy that was on the other end of that, it ain't pretty. You know,
And I never would have forgotten it. It would have been burned
uh,
into my brain forever. I'm all
it
set.
it's special though. It is beautiful, like in in a nature kind of way. You know, like
Sure.
nature. You ever see that website, Nature's Metal? It's like animals like killing other animals and like it's bloody and gory, but it's still like nature. It's like that. It's like you see it and you're like, that's gross, but it's also like pretty amazing that people can live through
Yes.
this, you know? That's
Yes.
what it's like.
100%. I respect that, but I'm not interested in seeing it at all.
I
At
wouldn't
all.
change it looking back on it. Like I'm glad I was there.
Good. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. And Matt definitely is like, he's very into it. He's very into like all the things.
I mean, you probably get a different perspective on it when you get farther away from it like I am. Like at this point I'm so far away from it. It's easy to look back on it and go, "Oh yeah, that was cool." But at the time I was probably traumatized. Like who the hell knows? It was wild.
We didn't have like a huge like Matt was I'm sure traumatized by like the fact that like my induction went terribly and like it was like hours of just like me screaming so loud I didn't even know I could make sounds like that. But then once I got an epidural, the actual labor itself was only like 60 seconds long. So it wasn't long. It must be different if you're in there watching someone push for like 2 hours.
How long is the actual recovery? Like that part I don't remember because we weren't active. Like when I was married, again, this was almost 20 years ago at this point. It was, Mira's 21, almost 22. So 22 years
Uh-huh.
ago. We weren't into fitness at all. So I don't remember what that recovery time was like for my ex. And I obviously don't remember what it would be like to get back into any kind of fitness. Like, what kind of expectations do you put on yourself for going, all right, have the baby, get back up and walking, get back to my normal life. And then by X date, I need to be on a treadmill or on a
Yeah.
bike. Do you set those expectations or do you just kind of wait and see how it feels?
Both. I just had this conversation with my pelvic floor PT yesterday because like every woman is different, every pregnancy is different. I obviously have a little bit of a benchmark from what I went through the first time, but there's no saying that things are going to go exactly the same way. So it really depends on a lot. Like it depends on your delivery and how it goes. Like the recovery from a vaginal delivery is completely different than from a C-section. And it really depends also on like the way that your body continues to recover from there. So like, are you nursing because nursing can help your organs kind of like go back to where
Right.
they need to go? And like, how long are you bleeding for? Because you bleed for like weeks and weeks and weeks after you give birth. And that kind of can hamper how and when you decide to get a little bit more active and get your blood pumping, literally. Ba-dum-tsh.
Yeah.
But for me, the first time around, like you really are cleared, quote unquote, for exercise and all the other things around 6 weeks. But I was really antsy to get moving again before that. And I felt good and I wasn't bleeding and I like was having a ton of anxiety. And so I needed that stimulation to kind of clear my head. And so I had a conversation with my pelvic floor PT where I was like, it doesn't hurt my vagina to sit on the bike. So can I just like sit on the bike and pedal? Like, will you be okay with that for me? And she was like, yes. And so I was actually able to get back to elevating my heart rate slightly and doing some breathing exercises and doing some like pelvic floor tilts and like walking around the block, walking up the stairs, doing that kind of stuff at around 3 to 4 weeks postpartum. But it was very low intensity. And then I was cleared for everything else by 6 weeks. And so I was able to go back to class and just scale based off of how I was feeling. And then my PT was really adamant about just not running until 12 weeks. And that has nothing to do with like your level of fitness or how strong you are or like your musculature or anything. It like literally has to do with how long it takes for your pelvic floor to like come back together in a way that's not going to be detrimental. Because if it's still like, wow, I'm so not a medical person. I was about to use the word gaping. If it's
Right.
still gaping in areas
That's a
and
medical
you're
term.
putting, that's a medical term.
Yeah.
And if it's doing that and you're putting too much pressure, downward pressure on it from impact from things like running and double unders or whatever, then like it can hamper its own healing ability to come back together, literally. As opposed to like if you wait for the time for it to come back together, and then you might weaken it a little bit by doing some running or by, not doing the strengthening movements you need. Like you can still strengthen it because it's done this. But if it's still doing this,
Sorry, I'm just not. I just can't get past gaping. I'm just still stuck on that. I'm just still stuck on
I'm
that term.
not a doctor. I just literally had this conversation yesterday. So, but I was also going so crazy that like I was doing a lot of walks around the block and then I would, like she said, please don't jog, but I would jog like uphill where there's not a lot of impact because you're kind of just like climbing.
Right.
But I like needed to elevate my heart rate to help clear my head. So I was doing a little bit of that before I should have.
Yeah. I'm just always amazed at how much more women have to go through just to do normal fitness than men do.
Yeah.
Particularly during this open, I had so many people talking about double unders because it's such a hindrance for women that have had babies,
Mm-hmm.
and people don't talk about it much. And people, I always have a weird experience when it comes up in something like that because then people are requesting memes about women peeing their pants, and there is a fine line there because there are a lot of people that are really sensitive to it. So when you do the
Right.
meme, then you get the nasty messages. Hey, that's not funny. I'm like, yeah, but I did it because someone asked for it, so it's funny to someone. you
Right.
know
Right.
I'm doing it because it's women asking for it because they want the relatability of what they're dealing with, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, like there is this relatability moment for all women that have children that have to deal with this, where they're thinking, all right, if I got to go to do double unders for 7 or 8 rounds of this workout, like, do I need to wear a pad? Do I need two
Mhm.
pads? Do I need, should I wear tight? Like, and I'm hearing all these conversations with people, all the different things you have to wear and put on and that they're worried about, or some people that just won't do it at all. And
Yeah.
I'm just always amazed at what women have to deal with, where men are just like, I'm just kind of worried about hitting myself in the dick with the rope. Like that's kind of the worst thing that could happen to me. Otherwise I'm good, you know?
That sounds pretty terrible for what it's
It
worth,
is,
but
it
yeah.
is terrible, but it's not the same as peeing your pants,
It's not the
you
same.
know?
No.
It's not the
No.
same. Like, and there's only a chance I could do it. It's not guaranteed. Whereas, these women that are dealing with this, it's guaranteed if they
Yeah.
do 6 or 7 rounds of double unders that they're going to wet themselves,
Yeah,
and
huh?
it's just impressive to me that people are willing to put up with that to get fitness in, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a true testament to how tough those women really are. My biggest piece of advice would be follow Christina Previtt and the Barbell
Yep.
Mamas and get some programming in that strengthens your pelvic floor. It is literally never too late. It is never too late if you had a baby 20 years ago and you've been peeing your pants every time you sneeze. Like, it is not too late to strengthen your pelvic floor and to fix that issue. And people like Christina are really paving the way in being vocal about it and talking about it and saying, like, it doesn't have to be this thing that we're all just like dealing with and have accepted as the norm. So she's amazing and highly recommend. And then, yes, I fully agree. You guys don't have to go through shit, and it is completely unfair. And
Well,
every night Matt thanks me for growing our new best friend. And I like look over at him as he's about to fall asleep. And I'm like, I'll be awake for 2 hours with the worst heartburn in the world and pregnancy congestion and everything. And I hate you right now.
yeah, well, it'll all come back around. It'll all come back around eventually. You'll forget all
When?
this. Eventually,
Oh, yeah, that's
you're
true.
gonna have a house of little gingers, and you're gonna be totally happy. So this is what you got to deal with it to get all the little gingers you want in your life.
If this
That's it.
baby has red hair, I am immediately dyeing my hair red. I can't wait. So excited.
Ooh, all right. We need people in the comments giving you names. But if he's got red
I
hair,
know.
can you name him Ron? That would be great.
You don't think that's a little too on the
No,
nose?
yeah, it should be. Come on, another
It
Weasley,
sh
it'd be perfect.
It would be perfect. Maybe we should be an obscure Weasley.
Like
No one really
Charlie,
knows. Like Bill. Yeah.
Bill or Charlie. That'd be
Yeah.
either of those would be fine.
Charlie's a great name.
Either of those. I've been in a total Harry Potter thing lately, by the
Oh,
way.
yeah?
So yeah.
Are
Back
you
in it.
rereading them?
No, I'm I'm doing another playthrough of the PS5 Hogwarts game. It's great. It's so
So
good.
fun. So fun. Matt played it hardcore when he was recovering from his surgery. He played it for like 2 weeks straight. He loved it. And Hunter loved it too. Hunter loved watching him play, and he would give him like a controller that wasn't attached. Hunter's going to be a video game nerd. It was
So
adorable.
here's what's crazy about the internet to me, and just the world as it turns these days. So I'm playing the stupid game, and so I'm sure I'm talking about it, to my kid when she comes downstairs or whatever. And now in my Instagram feed, I'm getting these uh Hogwarts and all this stuff about Harry Potter, but they're all cat themed. So not only are they connecting the fact that I'm playing this Harry Potter game, but they're connecting the fact that I have a cat. And so I'm getting like reels of cat castles. Like it's the most bizarre,
Wow.
it's the craziest shit ever. And I'm like, the world has become so invasive into
Uh-huh.
every tiny little aspect of our life that the algorithm has picked up on the fact that I have a cat and that I'm doing something Harry Potter related, and it's connecting them and trying to sell me Harry Potter themed cat toys and
Well,
scratch posts, and it's so weird.
okay, as a marketer, question, is it invasive or is it curated to make your life easier?
Both. I mean, it's like there's part of it that's awesome because I love Harry Potter, so I'm looking at it going, all right, Bean needs a Hogwarts castle. That would be awesome,
Oh.
you know. But then there's other part of me like that's creepy as hell that it knows to give me that, you know.
Yeah, I hear
It it
you.
ha- it has not yet started giving me Harry Potter CrossFit stuff. Like when that happens, I'm out. Like I'm just out. Like I'm done. That's too
And there's
much.
a lot of it.
Is there?
There's Yeah, well, was thinking about like that stuff that Allie recently did. There's stuff like that out there.
Oh, I mean, like if I start seeing like Harry Potter nanos and shit like that, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like
Oh,
that's it. I'm totally out. I think we're too
I
niche to actually be big enough to be on their radar to get
We
anything.
have we have the heavy squatter like Harry Potter t-shirts
Mm.
from I can't remember what brand made those. We have those. They're fun. That have like I'll send you a link. They do like the Deathly Hallows, but like it's like a barbell and a plate. It's cute. There's
I
a
probably
couple of
shouldn't
cute
be.
pieces
I
of
probably shouldn't
merch.
be so sensitive to it since I'm online 24/7. I guess I should just give up and just like, all right, like this is my
It's
life now.
curated. It's making your life
Yeah,
easier.
curated. Like
Curated, yeah.
like somebody's out there just selecting Hufflepuff Hufflepuff cat toys for John Woolley. There we go.
It's
Perfect.
working. I am so it's so funny you bring it up. So I'm so far down the romantasy rabbit hole right now that like that is all my feed is consistently.
When you say romantasy, is this smut? Is that what we're talking
Oh
about?
yeah. Oh my
Is
God,
it?
yeah. For sure.
His
Yeah.
loins are girded for her, whatever. Like that's what it's
Loins,
like.
LOL.
Yeah.
It's like cock. It's like
Oh, is it?
real.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
yeah, it's real
Yeah, yeah.
intense. Matt asks me this all the time. He's like, "Do they really say those words?" I'm like, "Yeah, babe. They say them all the time. It's great.
Yeah.
You should
So you're
try
reading
it."
porn. All right. So you're reading porn. All right. Keep going. Let's
Yes,
go.
I'm for sure reading fairy porn. 100%. But that's like all my feed is now, and I have now discovered that there are people who do like I don't want to call it cosplay, but there's like whole events and stuff that are put on where people like go to these like balls and they dress up like these characters. And I'm like, that is a level of dedication that I am interested in exploring someday. I would totally go to one of those and
Oh my
glue
God.
pointy ears onto myself and see what it's like. What's it like when you're
I don't
so deep in that world that you have a like a full ass costume and you probably own wings? I would put wings on for a night. That sounds like so much fun. And
I don't
talk to
want to
my
know
book
about
besties.
no, I don't want to know about your cosplay sex life. I don't want to hear about it. I
Do
don't
you think people do that? Do you think that there's
yes.
like novel based porn?
There's furries out there, Nikki. Of course
Yeah,
there's
you're right.
novel-based
There's
porn.
probably
Like
everything. I'm gonna
I
Google it
was
later.
I was in Columbus a couple of years ago for the Arnold, and I'm there with friends, and we're sitting at a bar, and we're like at the window, and all of a sudden this parade of furries comes by, and it's all
Dang.
these people dressed like foxes and dogs and cats and whatever, and they've got people leading them on leashes, and they're proudly walking around. And so I promise you, if there's people that are willing to dress up like that and just walk around in public because that's their fetish, I
Yeah.
guarantee you there are people that are cosplaying like fairies and
Huh.
elves and trolls and whatever and getting their freak on. Guaranteed.
I wasn't even thinking about it as a fetish thing. I was just thinking about it as a super nerdy thing.
Mm,
But I will be Googling that later. I'll let you know what I find.
yeah.
I will say that
Uh,
this genre of like novel though has totally like reawoken my love of reading, which has been like I'm halfway done with the last book in the ACOTAR series right now, which is kind of like the benchmark for this smutty fairy
right.
porn. And when I'm done with this book, I will have read 7 books this year. I feel like Danny.
I messaged Danny about her books the other day and mentioned that they were all smut. And she's like, no, only about 25%. She's
She
like,
gave me
25%.
her like smuttiest recommendations per my request. So I have a really good like TBR list right now. But I don't know, I just really like it. Like I haven't read for fun in ages and I have found a genre that I really love. So it's been really fun.
I feel like I've somehow am getting Matt in trouble. Like 6 months from now, when this baby's bigger, you're gonna have him dressing up like a house elf or some shit. Like I don't know, like you're gonna be calling,
Potentially.
yeah, Matt, we're gonna call you Dobby for the night. All right, here's your sock. Enjoy
Go
it.
put on this pillowcase.
Yes, go put on this pillowcase, and I'm gonna give you a sock. You're a free elf now. Good luck,
Ask
Matt.
me for clothes. Yeah, maybe that'll be my new thing. Maybe I'll
Oh
start
my
a
God.
new OnlyFans and make us some money.
Oh Jesus Christ.
I don't go back to work because I just do fairy porn OnlyFans.
Uh, this
Uh,
this is not a rabbit hole I wanted to go down, but now I feel like I'm gonna start getting messages from people around this.
For what it's worth, when I brought it up, I was not referring to anything scandalous. I was just saying that my feed is so curated now with like memes about these books or like other book recommendations or like videos of people who are going to these real life events dressed up like these characters. And I'm like, I just didn't even know that it existed. And it felt so nerdy and fun that I was like, I would totally do that someday.
Well,
And
it
I would
probably
just the same way
is.
I go to like Harry Potter conventions and bullshit like that. Like I totally would go to these like fairy ball gown true like events. I would totally do it.
It
Bring it on.
probably is. There probably are a significant number of people that this is a purely innocent cosplay fun thing for them. Like there are plenty of people. Like I got a kid that does, loves these, Comic Cons and whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And people are dressing up like Master Chief and Jedi Knights and
For sure.
Stormtroopers
Yeah,
and,
it feels
and
like
whatever.
that.
Yeah, but I also guarantee there's some people doing some freaky shit with that stuff, Nikki. So just be careful which rabbit hole you go down. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
My interest is peaked in either direction.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. I'm here for it. But also to say that if anyone has any good smutty fantasy recommendations, I am currently open to them and filling my list because I think I'll have plenty of time to read on maternity leave, hopefully.
Man, this is the weirdest CrossFit podcast I've ever been on.
Ever.
So bizarre.
Ever.
You
know what, John? You might want to pick up one of these and just see if you like it. Just see if you like it. They're well written.
No.
Okay.
That's not how dudes operate. If I want to see fairy porn, I'll find it on Pornhub. Like, no thanks.
I wonder if that's what you have to. I wonder if that's what you have to search.
I honestly don't even want to know because if I'm already getting all the Harry Potter shit in my feed, imagine what my feed would look like. I've said this before. Anytime I go down a rabbit hole on something, and I do this often, like I did that a few years ago when someone gave me some shit about doing a post for a Christian organization, and so because I'm stubborn, I'm like, well, I'm gonna do some Christian memes and start looking at Christian meme pages, and then all of a sudden, that's all that's in my feed. That like Instagram just feeds it to you, and you can't stop it. And a friend of mine, Brianna, the other day, she was like, "Hey, have you heard about this whole Princess Kate thing? Have you heard about this?" Yeah. Where people, it's all the speculation. She's dead or she's left or whatever. And so I make the mistake of looking up a couple, and now my whole feed is nothing but the royal fucking family.
Right.
That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So the royal family is everything. And which is kind of hysterical to me that Instagram picks up on that so fast. So God forbid if I look up fairy porn, then the next thing you know, it's all that's going to be in my feed, and I won't be able to create memes.
Well, if you do and you get anything good, send it my way.
Okay. I got you.
Because I'm deep in the rabbit hole and I haven't seen anything suggestive, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm going to message Matt. Hey,
now
Matt,
I'm open to it.
Yeah. Your wife is asking me to send her suggestive fairy porn. So don't be weirded out when I'm sending it to her. He'll be fine with that.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
Oh, my Lord.
I'll just forward it to him.
This is
what you're up against, Matt. You're up against my book boyfriends.
I'm just going to send it to him and let him decide what he wants to show.
That's a great idea, actually. Nikki would love this. Forward it to her.
I can't even.
No, it's actually funny stuff. It's truly mainly memes about how like real life men have it so tough because they're always having to go up against our book boyfriends who are these like, 500-year-old fairies with suggestive
that entire sentence just sounded so wrong.
There's people, I guarantee you there's people listening who understand where I'm coming from with this.
I'm sure they do. I'm not one of them. So I'm going to take your word for it.
That's okay.
All right.
That's okay.
All right. Well, this has been fun, Nikki. I've learned more about fairy porn than I thought I would ever learn, but thank you for that.
You're welcome.
That was good. Before we sign off, do not have that baby this week. We got a podcast next week.
I know. I will try.
Suck that little boy back in. I don't care how you do it, but keep him
Kegels.
in. And
practice my Kegels.
Just as a backup plan, send me some questions tomorrow for our next guest. That's all I ask. And keep me in the loop. All right.
I
Well,
will.
fun as always. Great seeing you. Haven't seen you in forever.
I know. Likewise, this was fun. Send name suggestions, please.
All right. Yeah. Everybody send us name suggestions. I'll forward them to Niki too, or just send them directly to her. All right. Well, with that, it was great seeing you. For everyone listening, I appreciate you guys joining, and we will chat with you guys soon. See ya.